This week's video is on which booking platform you should use as a property owner. When asked by owners, by fellow managers, which platform, which is called an OTA, online travel agent, we use or we prefer, it should be no surprise if we were asking it of someone else, we would say, what do you think? They would say Airbnb. Airbnb is the most common. It's become the generic name for booking on the short-term rental market, even though you're using other platforms. If you're only listing for a short period of time, you might be listing your property, you're doing it yourself, you're going to be away for a short break, you've got a neighbour doing it, a friend, a relation, you're listing it for Christmas holidays. It quite possibly that the best way to do it is simply put it on Airbnb, keep it simple, short, do it yourself and have it done. But do we believe Airbnb is the best booking platform? No, we don't. So if we've said we don't believe Airbnb is the best booking platform to have a property listed on to have guests, therefore, what is the best booking platform? So I can hear people already saying, well, booking.com, Stayz, yes, also great. But is it the best? No. The best is if you're able to have your own booking platform, your own site, you've set it up and you can take bookings yourself, that's the best. Obviously, you're going to have to advertise, you're going to have to generate leads, generate inquiries, generate other guests coming, people staying, but having your own for platform risk is the best. This isn't a trick. I'm not trying to be clever and to pretend that by us starting our own booking one, we'll generate more visitors than Airbnb. But we are conscious that if you are, for instance, only with Airbnb, the risk to you for platform risk for changes at Airbnb can be extreme or total. Airbnb, for instance, are in control of the platform, they're in control of the rules, they're in control of the payments, they're in control of what they charge you for a fee. So whatever they charge, the fee, the decisions, will they refund a damage? No, they won't. All of those things are determined by the respective OTA. If you're booking through your own and you can generate, possibly not 100%, but if you can generate initially 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, up to even 40% of bookings through your own booking site, you're in control of that large part of the destiny and all of the rules and associated that goes with it. So if there's a policy, you know it will be enforced because it's you. The Airbnb, great business, great platform, excellent reach, but absolutely, there's always a but. Airbnb can suspend your listing. They can delist your listing. They can, a guest stays, for instance. A guest is given the option or the opportunity to review you and to leave a review at the end of your stay. They're given scores up to 5 for a number of criteria and then an overall score. Now, people would give a 4 thinking 4 is very good, 5 is excellent or outstanding. But in the Airbnb world, if it's 5 only, if you score 4s, 4's a fail. If, for instance, you average 4.8 or above, you can be considered to be superhost. But the other extreme is if your property dips below 4.2, Airbnb will delist your property. Now, if we've had guests stay, guests have been untidy, disrespectful, and whatever, and we've contacted them, provided them photos, sent them a bill for $200 for additional cleaning, and they've taken offence to it because they believe it's their God-given right to leave the property any way they want, and then they leave us a review that gives us 5 1s. You have a couple of those in a row, you then get a message from Airbnb saying your property is in danger of being delisted for 3 days. Now, your property is still this stunning, well-presented, multi-million-dollar property. It hasn't changed. The quality of the fittings, the fixtures, the pool, the waterfront, none of that's changed. All that's changed is you've had a couple of guests leave what we regard as retribution reviews, and Airbnb has let them stand. It's affected your rating and your score has dropped. And go along a little further, and if your score drops again, if you get a poor review for whatever reason, Airbnb suspends your listing for 3 days and you can't take bookings for that property. Now, of course, I understand and appreciate they're trying to keep the quality of the platform, the quality of the bookings, but when they're arbitrary, and most people, when considering the things, thinking I'm leaving a 4, I only give 5 if it was amazing. And they've given 4 thinking that was great. They don't realise that 4's a fail. something to be aware of. If Airbnb perceives there to be a problem, especially a safety issue, they will not just freeze the bookings for that property, but if you've got multiple properties, they will freeze them all. A number of years ago, probably 4 years ago, we had a European guest staying at a property. They didn't contact us. They contacted Airbnb and said that we had a camera set up in the lounge, another in the bedroom and another somewhere else, and we were videoing and listening and da-da-da-da. They immediately froze all of our properties. We contacted the guest and said, what's happening? And they said what it was. Please provide us photos. They sent the photos back with, it was a 2-bedroom. They sent 4 or 5 photos of smoke alarms. They're from Europe. They haven't seen them before. They thought these objects in each bedroom, hallway, etc. were listening devices and videoing, and they were all in fact smoke alarms. But we provided those straight away to Airbnb. We had the guests do it. We took photos from Bunnings, the hardware site, showed the guests this is what these are smoke alarms. The guests contacted Airbnb, but they'd started the process. So I believe we were unable to take bookings for about 5 days. So platform risk because of just mistakes, errors, their own policies, something goes wrong, huge risk. There's a risk to owners, risk to us as managers, and it's a risk to the returns on the asset. Up to January 2022, we listed only on Airbnb. Principal reason for that was the verification for guests. Airbnb did it fairly well. The other, Booking.com and Stayz, didn't. And for management of risk for the owner's properties, we went with Airbnb. 2 years ago, Airbnb in their, what they call they do software updates across their platform every quarter. And when they did their, what they call their winter 2022 update, which was summer here, there were a number of changes in the algorithm that runs search and everything in Airbnb. The immediate result that we saw was we have properties beachfront sitting on top of the dune looking out to sea that have had 140, 150 lots of groups of guests. When you did a search, they would come up in the first 2 or 3. After the update to the system, you wouldn't spot them on the first 4 or 5 pages. And that happened to a lot of our larger properties. And it was a result that we saw online by hosts all around the world saying, what happened to my listing? It's disappeared. They made a change at their search algorithm, and whatever their focus was or whatever they were trying to do, it greatly affected our business immediately in that we had properties that were booked all the time, and all of a sudden then they became invisible to search, and we had to do other things to move them back up again. So we're held at risk by the magic of their search and algorithm and where they do it. As I said, 2 years ago, Airbnb provided 100% of our bookings across, it's Sunny B&B, across our 60 bookings, our 60 properties we manage. But we've changed and we've opened up to Airbnb, to Booking.com, to Stayz, and to our own booking site, sunnycoastbnb.com.au. Now we take bookings across all platforms. We verify guests on all platforms, verify the credit card, do all the things we need to do to make sure we're compliant and it's safe for the property. But now we have fishing lines in multiple ponds fishing for guests. Airbnb has gone from being 100% of our bookings, where we're completely reliant on them, to Airbnb, depending on month, varies between 35% and 48%. So normally, at the moment, in a normal month, Airbnb is about 40% of our total bookings. They used to be 100. Our own booking site has moved from 5 to 10. We had a month, our February month, we were 25. March, we're back to 15. So it varies a little bit, but our aim is to build up our own booking site. Our owners, therefore, are not being charged an Airbnb or a Booking.com fee. Our guests are getting at a cheaper price. It is far better for us in managing risk to make sure that now we're in control of the conditions, the report. We hold the bond on the property. The rules are clearly stated and explicit and whatever. So for us, what's the best platform? Obviously our own, but fish in all the platforms, but be aware that every one of them has an operation, has a risk, has something you need to manage. But if you're in lots of them and there's a problem at Stayz, or there's a problem at Booking.com, or there's a problem at Airbnb, if they suspend your listing for a day or all listings for 5 days, all of the other platforms continue because you've spread your risk across all platforms and you're properties are being advertised everywhere. The other thing is when you list and you're on, and I'm talking about Airbnb, you're on Airbnb and Airbnb has, for their listing, they have air cover. So the understanding that most people would have is if guests damage something with the property, Airbnb will pay for it. Now, that's how it's portrayed. The reality is not always that way and not always certainly that simple. We take photos before a guest stays, guest comes, there is damage. We take new photos, show it the guest what happened here, try and get an explanation, get a quote, submit them a price, and then some people will say, no, we're not paying that. I know we did, we're not doing it. And so you then go to Airbnb, you follow their process through, and you have to hit certain information, certain evidence, got to be supplied within a certain time period, etc. And if you're compliant to all those, you may still be refused. A practical example, we had guests stay at a property in Maroochydore, 3-level townhouse right on the beach, stunning property. Guests stayed. The kitchen is one that has double door fridges. When the guest finished and had left, there were dents in both the left-hand and right-hand doors. Now, I don't know what they've done, but they both had nearly the identical dent. So they've had something, swung it around, whatever it is, has hit both doors and left a dent. And this is a stainless steel fridge and dents in both doors. We contacted the guest. I didn't do it. We showed the photos. Well, all right, but we're not paying. We gave it to Airbnb and said, here's what they're there. They refused to pay for it. Airbnb, as they do, ask for a quote, ask for evidence. That's all supplied. We had to pay for a fridge repair guy to come out on site, which was, I don't know, $65, $70 odd. He came out to look at the fridge to give us a quote on what it would cost, supplied them to Airbnb, who initially came back and said, we're not going to pay for them. We then said, that's not good enough. We want you to look at it again. We sent it back. They came back then and said, we will pay for the right-hand door to be replaced. Not the left-hand door, they had the same dent, and just the right-hand door, and that was it. They wouldn't pursue it any further. So because we're professional hosts, we sent it to the professional host escalation team. We sent it to them. They looked at it and said, no, we're only paying for the right door. So I contacted the fridge repair guy, and I spoke to him and I said, is there a reason why they would come back with this decision? And he said, the left-hand door is far more expensive and is virtually the cost of a fridge because it has the water dispensing unit where you put your glass up and push against it, and that's built into the door. And by replacing the door and the other door, it's the cost of a whole new fridge. And so Airbnb made a deliberate policy first to say no, and then to say only the right door, and then on escalation, no, only the right door. There's no logic to it, simply the fact that they were avoiding their responsibility and payout. So we say to everyone, be aware, they say that this will happen, and they may, but equally they may not. They self-insure, they make a decision, it's their platform. If we have guests staying and it's on our platform, we've taken a bond, and if they've broken something, it comes out of the bond. Obviously, if it's in excess of the bond, then we're chasing the guests for payment. While I'm on a little Airbnb damage escalation claims discussion, I'll give you two examples that are true as I sit here and happened in December and January. December 23, January 24. First of those was a 3-bedroom townhouse in Maroochydore. Guest checked in, everything's fine. Guest, not to us, but guest complained. Yes, they did complain to us first. Guest complained to us and said the clock in the lounge room is on the wrong time. Apparently it was out by about 10 minutes. And that the back door, when she opened it, made a noise, a squeaking noise that was unpleasant to her ears. So we said, that's fine. We will have the maintenance guy drop in, reset the time and put some oil on the squeak on the door. And so we've addressed the concern, and we think that was the end of it. She applied to Airbnb then and said she's paid a lot for the holiday for to be this time and it should be perfect, and it's not. And Airbnb refunded her $500 for the clock on the wrong time, back door, made a noise unpleasant to her ears. We contacted Airbnb support, and no, $500 has already been paid. And they've just paid the guest. And so we sent it to the professional host escalation team, who agreed that was ridiculous and gave us our $500 back. But in a normal circumstance, as a normal host, you would have lost your $500. It's just ridiculous. Second example, that was December. In January for New Year's Eve, New Year, beachfront house in Bocarina. Guest rang the office and said, we're cooking a specialised dish, fry pans needed for this. The guest was told that if you look in the kitchen, there is a full set of all the pots and pans and whatever, and in fact there are 3 fry pans there. And he said, there is, but the dish I wish to cook, I need a specialised fry pan and you don't have that. To which we said, we don't provide a commercial kitchen. This is a very, very well-stocked kitchen where you can cook most things, but if you have a particular dish, you've got to bring your own. We replied that in writing as well as our phone call. He contacted Airbnb support, lodged the complaint, and once again they gave him $500, which was to pay for the fry pan and etc. etc. We went to the escalation team, got our $500 back, but the guest received a $500 refund. So when I talk about platform risk and I talk about the dangers of the online travel agents, be aware it's populated by people, and people can make good decisions and people can make bizarre, ridiculous decisions. And often if you're just the normal host with that only outlet, you don't get an appeal. You don't get to follow it up. Once they've made a decision, it's gone. We have the benefit of sending it to the escalation team for professional hosts. But even then, sometimes we'll come back with a ridiculous decision because it's the benefit of Airbnb. So, end point. Go back to my original question. What is the best online travel agent to list your short-term rental property? Where it's how long is a piece of string? They've all got pros and benefits. The majority, obviously, of people searching will go to Airbnb, Booking.com, Stayz. So be on them all. Be on your own if you have a manager that's able to provide you with the direct booking site. The more options you have, the more it spreads your risk, the more opportunities you have, but just ensure that whoever manages it is making sure that they are compliant with the respective online travel agent. But best to be on everything, fish everywhere, have as many lines in the water as you can, and good luck. Hope that was a help. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.